Sam Howell is expected to start for the Washington Commanders in Week 18. What are the chances that he ends up being their starting quarterback in Week 1 of 2023? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Magdziuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. I am Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. She is Kate Magdziuk. Follow her on Twitter at Kate Magdziuk. New Twitter handle. Kate, what's going on?
Nothing, Marcus. It's nice to be back. We had a couple of days off, and but this is kind of our first time talking about football since the Demar Hamlin injury. We got some great news. Do you want to share that with our listeners? Because
listen, I'd love to.
It's made my day. I'm very excited, and I think
it's made all of our days, right?
Yeah, it's the perfect way to start off a podcast.
Yeah. So according to Ian Rappaport this morning, Demar Hamlin is addressing the team via FaceTime today. The breathing tube is out, and he's spent the morning speaking to teammates through FaceTime. And then later this morning, I believe he's going to give a message to the entire team. I mean, just absolutely incredible considering where we were just a few days ago. And I even tweeted, can you imagine what those guys in the locker room have to be feeling like getting a FaceTime call from Demar Hamlin and hearing his voice and being able to talk to him on this Friday morning?
I can't imagine. I have to just, I don't know. I'm elated. It feels like, this is like a huge turning point. I don't even know what to say about it. It's been a really emotional week for those who are fans of football, those who are covering football. It's been really hard to find the line of like what actually feels important, because nothing feels important, but everything feels important at the same time. And I have to imagine that this Bills locker room getting that FaceTime call, I don't know what I don't know if I'm facing the Bills this week, man, I'm gonna be scared because this team is gonna be going all out in week 18. Like, this is going to be a tough matchup, and the Patriots, they still have playoff implications on the line, and
so do the Bills.
I think they do.
I mean, the Bills have to win this game to at least kind of keep pace with the Chiefs and potentially have the number 1 or number 2 seed. It's a big game, and I just wish I was in Buffalo this weekend watching that game because I think it's going to be very emotional. I think it's going to be fun with both teams needing it. And you know what's really cool?
But you know this defense is going to come out and squash Mac Jones like a pancake. Like,
yes.
I don't know. Over under 3 interceptions.
Oh, Mac Jones is pretty safe with the ball. I'll go 2 interceptions. But you know the cool thing about this game though is we can actually enjoy it because of the progress that Demar Hamlin's made, right? The fact that he's talking to teammates. Like it would be totally different if, Hamlin's status was still unknown, but with all the encouraging news, it's just going to make the game that much more fun on Sunday.
Yep. 100%. And like with that, Marcus, there's been a lot of chatter about what do your leagues do? The game has officially been canceled. So that's out the window. And there are a lot of different ways that your fantasy leagues can handle it. I know prior to the news, we had some teams that, settled the pot 50-50. If your matchup was already decided, prior to Monday Night Football, then great. You're done. But there are still a lot of teams who haven't yet decided how to navigate this very tricky situation in a very important week for fantasy.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what's the best solution that you've seen so far?
Okay, so this actually is something that I have not seen, but I dreamt about it last night. And I'm gonna break the strategy here, fresh from my dreams. So Marcus, I don't know if you remember, we play in a fantasy basketball game together. We play a league on Sleeper, and basically you have the ability to go in and lock certain performances, right? So what I'm proposing is, if you haven't settled things out, if you still had players to go, uh, I'm proposing a hybrid system, not a full replay of what you had in week 18, because you have a lot of different like teams need different things this week, right? Like I have Saquon Barkley in several of my fantasy matchups. I don't want to replay in week 18. Like
Yep.
that's not fair.
That's not, yeah, that doesn't help you. Yep.
That doesn't help me at all. I have Travis Etienne in a lot of leagues, which like again doesn't help me, right? Like a lot of things on the line for key fantasy matchups are, it kind of either like I don't know. There's just too many different variables here. I'm proposing a system where we have the option to lock each performance from week 17 or replay. And that hybrid system is what I'm proposing, so that you don't have to replay all of those matchups. But again, give everybody a shot if they want to replay week 18. I think that's the best solution that doesn't force everybody to lose matchups that they already had in play for
I get it. I like that one. I think that's a very easy way to continue on if you want to do that. I've got two ways that I've seen personally in my leagues over the last couple of days how the payouts have been resolved and how just the overall league has been resolved. But before I tell you guys about that, that's a tease. I want to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. That's why daily fantasy works, right? Something weird happens, just pick it up the next week. All you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They are currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, they'll give you $100. You deposit $50, they'll give you $50. It's really that easy. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, Kate. A couple of my leagues. This is how things were resolved. I want your thoughts. The first one is more payout. So both owners agreed it wouldn't be fair to continue the week into week 18 for the exact reasons that you mentioned, right? Some guys aren't going to be playing. You don't want to get rid of the performances that you had. So what they did is these leagues were on ESPN and they took the win probability, right? Everybody's played on ESPN. It'll show you the odds that you win. Let's say it's 75-25. And that's how they ended up splitting the winnings, right? Let's say you have $100 prize pool. $75 goes to the team that has 75% chance to win. $25 goes to the second place team. Does that seem somewhat fair to you?
It does. I really like that, actually. That's a proposal that I've not seen before. But I like that, as opposed to the same old sort of 50-50, and cut it down the line. I really like that.
Okay. So that's an obvious and easy way to do one. This one's a little tougher. Maybe not tougher, but this one I thought was the coolest that I've seen. So I am in a dynasty league with a bunch of other Cowboy writers and beat people, and it was a really close game. One of the teams had Joe Burrow, one of them had Josh Allen. Fairly significant prize pool we have here. They decided just to, instead of worrying about divvying up the money, they donated it to Demar Hamlin's foundation, called each other co-champions, and we moved on. Best way to remember the league that year.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. And I have to imagine that Demar Hamlin waking up. Let's see what the latest GoFundMe total is, because that's been my favorite game to play all week. $7.8 million.
Yeah.
My God.
Incredible.
Imagine being the person that not only gets to tell Demar Hamlin, hey, you survived, but not just that. Your
Yeah.
GoFundMe for the Chasing M's Foundation has $7.8 million. I have to imagine, like, I want to see that reaction. I want to see that reaction when he sees the way that NFL fans and teammates and
Yeah. Pretty cool.
owners, executives, that, like, it's the
Well,
coolest thing I've ever seen.
I think fantasy players and dynasty players get a bad rap sometimes, especially from NFL players, because they feel like, listen, we've all seen it. The worst fantasy players go out and call out their players on Twitter and on social media, and the players don't make money from fantasy. So I get it. But this is also why the fantasy community is awesome, right? And this is why it's so cool to be a part of that, is because you're seeing things like this all the time, where you very easily, these guys could have just split the money and been very happy, but instead they make the best out of a tough situation and it benefits everybody. And now I think that our entire league is going to remember it as the year we had co-champions, and that we had a significant amount of money get donated to a great cause. So I just want to reiterate, this is why we love fantasy and dynasty football so much.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks because, like, the people that you generally see tagging players are like the worst of the worst. You never get to see the best of the best, but sometimes you do, and usually it takes a bad situation to bring out the best of the best, or at least bring it to everybody's attention. But I think that's the one thing that we can take away from this situation, is that there's still some good out here in the world.
Absolutely.
We still got a lot that we have to be, we have to be happy about and
Yeah.
gracious for, and go hug your loved ones more
Yes.
often.
We are going to talk about some fantasy stuff it's going to happen in week 18. It's a very strange week for a lot of different reasons. There's some games with huge playoff implications. We don't even know who's going to be in the playoffs. In some cases, I think the 6th and 7th, the 7th seed in the AFC is still up for grabs. The 7th seed in the NFC up for grabs. We've got like 10 games that have some kind of playoff implications. But Kate, I want to talk about some quarterbacks this week. Offhand, I think we have 6 rookie quarterbacks starting this week. Is that right? We've got Kenny Pickett. We've got Desmond Ritter. We've got Sam Howell. We've got Skylar Thompson. We've got Brock Purdy. Am I missing one? Maybe 5. Maybe 5 is right.
I think
no
5.
Malik Willis. No, so it's only 5 this week. But I want to ask you about Sam Howell, somebody who
Yes,
I know you've liked for a while. He is finally getting his chance to start here in week 18. Before we even talk about what he's going to do this week, my question to you is simple. How likely is it that he opens up 2023 as the day 1 starter for the Washington Commanders?
I think you mean how likely is it? I think this is likely personally. I think the Commanders would be kind of silly to roll back Carson Wentz. Like, I think we talked about it on Monday's show. The team had already said that they're interested in Carson Wentz for the 2023 season. And Carson Wentz heard that, and he's like, I'm not really feeling that, and went out and destroyed the entire game. Like, it just absolutely blew up. Maybe that's our subconscious sign that he's just not ready to be a Commander for yet another season. But I mean, Sam Howell, I think we're going to get into his just kind of reviewing him as a prospect. But if you're telling me right now that Sam Howell doesn't pose as much upside as Carson Wentz, I think you're out of your mind. And I personally think that the game that Sam Howell plays is a much safer floor than that of what we're getting from Carson Wentz. I'm willing to buy on the off chance that your league mates are not.
I'm willing to buy because it's just so cheap to get him right now. I mean, you throw a quarter at him and there you go.
A quarter.
The thing is, there's a lot of weapons. That's what's so interesting about this whole offense is, when you look at the receiving core, like not only this year, but like long term, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, pretty nice. Even Diami Brown, who Sam Howell knows a little bit from his days in North Carolina. The running back situation's good. The offensive line, I think, could be better next year once it's healthier. Man, it wouldn't take a lot for Sam Howell, especially with his legs, to become a pretty relevant fantasy and dynasty quarterback. So yeah, I think now that we know it's not going to be Carson Wentz and we know that it's not going to be Taylor Heineke long term, why not?
I mean, let's not forget that Sam Howell was a projected first round pick. He was PFF's QB2 on their big board. As a true freshman, he put up the second highest graded season they've ever had from a true freshman quarterback, which I think tells you all you need to know about Sam Howell. The best part about Sam Howell is that he's tough. He's like got a nice build to him. He's got a little bit of meat on the bones. 6'1", 218 pounds, but he's got an aspect of the run game. Like, he's not the athlete that Desmond Ritter is, but
no,
he's got the build and the toughness that he's able to be kind of just elusive by nature of yards after contact and his ability to withstand defenders. I think there's a lot to like about Sam Howell. He accomplished a lot on the ground at UNC, and I think for fantasy especially, like, let's not forget that is the fantasy cheat code. And if Sam Howell comes in and, like, let's say rushing average of 30 yards a game,
he's going to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, he's going to be fantasy relevant.
100% agree. Let's talk a little bit more about Week 18 and some of these quarterbacks that are playing. But before we do that, Kate, we want to let you know that today's show is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and World Cup. They've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. It's the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Just checked at BetOnline. We got some news that Joe Flacco starting for the Jets. The line immediately moved from Jets -1 to Dolphins -3. So there you go. Apparently, Joe Flacco is worth -4 points on a line compared to Mike White. What a wild season.
Yeah, that's surprising for me. That is surprising for me.
All right, I got a question for you. Let's take out Sam Howell. Let's take out Kenny Pickett. If you could have your choice between any of these other rookie quarterbacks that are starting this week, between Desmond Ritter, Brock Purdy, Skylar Thompson, we could even throw Matt Corral, who hasn't played yet this season, Bailey Zappi, who we saw for a couple of games, Malik Willis, who's not starting this week, which tells you basically everything you need to know. Which one do you want to go out and add this offseason?
Marcus, this is really hard. I'm still gonna roll with Desmond Ritter. Okay. It's really tough for me to go back to the well. I don't think you need to go out on a limb and get crazy with what you use to acquire. Averaging just 160 pass yards per game isn't being overly efficient in his rushing performance, but I think that I liked the mental aspects of his game enough coming out of Cincinnati that I think he's got the physical tools. Like, what we need to work on is accuracy. What we need to work on is chemistry with receivers. But I'd love to see what he can do out there with Drake London, with Kenny Pickett. Like, get both of these guys on the field at the same time with reps, because you'll remember, Marcus, they didn't get him any first team reps until he was suddenly asked to start. It
Well, and
wasn't
that's the
even
benefit like Kenny
competition.
Pickett's had is Pickett's played. Pittsburgh's going to be the only team in the league this year to start the same 5 offensive linemen in every single game. George Pickens has played every game. Deontay Johnson, I believe, has played every game. Like, there's just a lot of continuity there.
Yep.
Hasn't been the
And
case
that
for
gives you
Atlanta.
so much opportunity,
Yeah.
like, to get your timing right. And
Yeah.
like, we can talk about the accuracy issues of Desmond Ritter, which was not coming out of the draft, but like some of that like can be helped with more reps with specific receivers and understanding timing. And if he can make those improvements, I do think that the upside, especially with him as a rusher, given his athleticism, that is very intriguing to me. But again, needs more reps. I hope they go back to the well and see what they have in him for the 2023 season, because I think the upside's high. It's just a matter of making some adjustments, getting more reps,
Yep.
and getting down this timing with his receivers. And I think we could see some improvement.
I'm going to go with Brock Purdy.
I don't want to be too crazy, though.
I know. Yeah, I think that was a very measured take. I'm going with Brock Purdy, Kate. In the 5 games that he's played for the 49ers, he's thrown 2 touchdowns in every single game. He also has a rushing touchdown. It's clear that Kyle Shanahan's giving him more opportunities. Like, you've seen his last 4 games, passing yards, 185, 217, 234, 284. They're trusting him more to make plays. And with that offense, with Christian McCaffrey, and they don't even have Deebo Samuel back, and George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk starting to break out. I think there's a good chance that Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback in 2023 for the San Francisco 49ers. And if that's the case, I mean, I know Jimmy Garoppolo was never a guy that we wanted to start in fantasy, but he's already kind of outproducing Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of the raw numbers. So I think Purdy, maybe even more than Kenny Pickett's the guy that I want from this class.
Maybe. I'm the Kenny Pickett skeptic here, but Kenny Pickett, he's impressed me. He's absolutely impressed me. The stats have not been impressive. Like the fantasy performance, not been impressive, but performance on the field, you've got to be pretty happy with what you've seen, especially over the last few weeks.
Yes, I agree. The problem is you're just not getting the stats. Like, it's great that he's having these 4th quarter comeback wins, but part of the reason why they're having to come back in the 4th quarter is he's just not playing that well in the first 3 quarters, right? And it's like, how long can you continue to play this style of football? With Mike Tomlin, you probably can play it all year. Like, he just wants to play. He just wants to play these ugly, muck it up type of games, right? And that's how they kind of want to get to 9-10 wins that way. But if you're looking at it from a fantasy perspective, you want a quarterback that's want to go out there and win the game in the first 2 quarters. And it just doesn't feel like the Steelers trust Kenny Pickett to do that yet.
And I think I mean, interestingly, I think this also comes back to the play calling and what are our expectations of Kenny Pickett and this offense with the play calling that's in place right now. Because the play calling definitely switches. They hit that, the last couple drives of the game, and suddenly they're playing up tempo. They're getting into a rhythm. And why they're not playing the style offense that they've been playing in the 4th quarter is beyond me, because it's
too
effective
risky
and it
for Mike
works.
Tomlin. That's what it is, right? There's too much variance that can happen.
But the variance that we've seen is no offense.
I
Like,
know.
we've
Trust
seen
me, I get
stalled
it.
drives. It doesn't make sense for me, but honestly, I'm kind of worried that these end of game drives, these end of game wins that we've seen out of Kenny Pickett, I'm praying to the good Lord that this does not keep Matt Canada in place as the play caller for another season. I'm almost worried that his late game heroics are going to buy Matt Canada more time. And honestly, I think that's to Kenny Pickett's detriment.
Hey,
His
from your lips to
development.
Rudy's ears. I hope he stays.
Marcus, see that
Sorry.
tells you everything you need to know. If Marcus wants Matt Canada to stay,
Sorry.
then that means it's very bad for the Steelers, and we need to move on. So if Mr. Rooney, if you're listening here,
and I'm sure you are. I'm sure he's a big Dynasty football fan.
He should be, man. He's built the ultimate dynasty himself. But
Good point.
Marcus, I think we all know that regardless of trajectory for Kenny Pickett, like if you want a guy that's probably locked in to be the starter for a long time, and
It's Pickett.
you can kind of sit. But my issue is that with these kind of late game surges, people are getting excited about the prospect. I do worry that you're going to have to overpay right now for Kenny Pickett.
My problem is with Pickett is I agree. I think if you want the guy that's most likely to be an every week starter in the NFL for the next 6 years, it's Kenny Pickett without a doubt. Like he just has the most safety because of the organization, the draft capital, and all that kind of stuff. But is he going to end up actually kind of hurting you in the long run in dynasty leagues if he's just kind of taking up a roster spot and you never really feel comfortable as your QB1, and you're not getting those 300-yard passing games? I don't know. He's a tough one because I just don't see the upside of him like I see in some of the other quarterbacks in this class.
Agree. Yeah, we're on the same page here, Marcus. Again, I'm going to eat my words here and say that I was wrong. And I discounted Kenny Pickett too quickly because what we've seen has been exciting, but for fantasy, I'm not bought in yet.
No, because I think with Pickett starting, this is still like the 30th offense in the league in points per game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
He's. I also saw his touchdown percentage of all rookie quarterbacks in the last, I think, 2 decades to start is second worst of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not great.
So while they are getting these wins, it's not translating to a lot of big performances on offense for the Steelers or for your fantasy teams. But again, there's a lot of safety there because he has been leading them to wins. He does have the first round draft capital, and the Steelers are probably going to make the playoffs in his first year, which is kind of wild.
Crazy.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you the local insights you love to the national spotlight with daily conversations on the biggest NFL stories. Locked On NFL, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Go check out Kate on Twitter at Kate Magdziuk. Also check out her work at the Gaming Society. Fantastic website over there. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy the final week of the 2022-2023 season. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down, talk a little playoffs. See you guys next time.